Hello, Peace Scholars. We're back for part 3 of how I used AI to create Zero, an every person's guide to a weaponless world. And this is a free book. And I want to start out, I'm going through my interaction with G. G is Gemini. I call Gemini G. And how this book came about. And this is part 3. And I'm reading through the questions I asked and how we got to this book. But I want to start out by reading one of the first questions that I read at the end of last episode, part 2 of this. And this is the very first page on the little book that's not little, it's an important book. Antonio Guterres's Agenda for Disarmament. So it's called Securing Our Common Future, an Agenda for Disarmament. A quick search, you will find that. There's also a link in the free book, aviskalfsbeek.com/0. So just search Antonio Guterres. There's no I in there. Guterrez. And the title is Securing Our Common Future, an Agenda for Disarmament. You could also put in 2019. So on the inside cover, the cover depicts Orizuru, an origami paper crane. The Japanese legend has it that if anyone folds 1,000 paper cranes, his or her wish will be granted by the gods. Sadako Sasaki was 2 years old when an atomic bomb fell on Hiroshima in 1945. She was caught in black rain and developed leukemia. 10 years later, at her hospital bed, Sadako was folding over 1,000 cranes, praying for her recovery. She died at the age of 12, but her story of folding thousands of cranes spread around the world. Origami cranes have become symbols of peace. The paper crane on the cover was attached to a peace tapestry created by students and teachers from Nutley High School in New Jersey, United States of America, who came to the United Nations headquarters in observance of United Nations Day on 24 October 2017. So that was right before Guterres produced this book. And so it's a PDF. It's easily accessible. So where we ended last time was the question. I'm going to read my last questions. How much of the historical plans did Antonio Guterres use to structure his plans? Is his a light version, and did he leave out important things to get more agreement? Or is it inclusive and as rich and diligent as the previous plan? So this is what G responded. And by the way, at the end, I'm going to do a little unveiling of the book Zero. I got the print book, and I did open it because I ordered 2 things from Ingram Spark at the same time. And I glanced to see the color of the book to make sure it's the book, but I haven't opened it up. I haven't held it in my hand yet. So we're going to do that at the end on the video, which the video is on YouTube and Rumble. So G responded, Guterres' 2018 plan, Securing Our Common Future, is neither a light version nor a simple copy of the 1960s plan. Instead, it is a comprehensive update that keeps the old spirit alive while adding entirely new rooms to the House of Disarmament. To understand how we used history, think of it this way. The 1960s plans were about the destruction of hardware, nukes, tanks, silos. Guterres' plan is about the prevention of software and systems, AI, cyber attacks, and the financial structures of war. Here's how he balances the richness of the past with the realities of today. What he has retained the classic foundation. Guterres is as diligent as Clark or Sohn when it comes to the nuclear pillar. He explicitly refuses to water down the goal. The inclusion. He directly utilizes the total elimination goal from the UN's very first resolution, 1946, and the McCloy-Zorin logic. The diligence. Like the 1962 draft treaties, his plan includes specific technical benchmarks for things like a fissile material cutoff treaty, stopping the production of nuclear fuel for bombs. He hasn't lightened the nuclear section. If anything, he has made it more urgent. What he added, the rich modern layers. The 2018 plan is actually richer and more inclusive than historical plans in 3 specific areas that Clark and Sohn never imagined. And this is G continuing on, letting me know the answer to my question. Number 1, new battlefield technologies. He has an entire strand for autonomous weapons, killer robots, and cyber warfare. Historical plans were about physical objects. Guterres is about the digital armory. Number 2, gender and inclusion. Previous plans were written by smarty pants men in suits for other men in suits. Guterres argues that disarmament is only rich and diligent if it includes the people most affected by violence, specifically women and youth. 3, human security versus national security. Historical plans focused on the security of the state. Guterres focuses on the security of the human. He links disarmament to Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, arguing that you can't have peace if you don't have a healthy planet and a fair economy. I wonder if these acronyms are commonly used acronyms, or just like the quotation marks in Gemini, they're just Gemini giving us an acronym. So where he trimmed the tactical compromise. Here is the light aspect. It is in verification. The difference, the 1962 plans were obsessed with the World Peace Force and international control organs, massive world government style structures. Guterres' approach, he knows that today's world powers are highly sensitive about sovereignty. Instead of demanding a world peace, he proposes confidence building measures. He focuses on transparency and shared data rather than a global sheriff. He is trying to get agreement by moving away from world government and toward global cooperation. Well, I don't know about you, but this is Avis speaking. I don't know if that tactical compromise is really working. So the book Zero uses Antonio Guterres's this book that he created that we're talking about right now, but it sticks with the 100% disarmament, and it sticks with the World Council that will be able to enforce peace. How else could it work? How else? We've been trying for decades upon decades, centuries upon centuries. That was a sidebar. So comparison table, historical versus Guterres. So we're getting back into how did the Clark, Sohn, and McCloy plans, the 1960s plans, compare with his 2018 agenda. So the primary goal for the 1960s plan was general and complete disarmament. Guterres' 2018 agenda, sustainable peace and security. Enforcement, the 1960s plan, a world police force, world court. Guterres' 2018 agenda, partnerships, norms, and UN sanctions. 1960s plan, scope, nukes and conventional armies. Guterres' 2018 agenda, nukes, cyber, AI, gender, and climate. Target audience, the 1960s plan, governments and diplomats. The Guterres 2018 agenda, governments, tech sector, and civil society. And the format, the 1960s plan, Clark, Sohn, McCloy, were legal treaties and draft laws. And Guterres 2018 agenda, 111 action points, a to-do list. So that's the difference. We have these detailed, the Clark, Sohn plan is a 500 plus page, very detailed. One was a lawyer, and it's very detailed, and this is the how-to. Now we're gonna, create this global council. And I think if we think of everyone's untrusting of one another, the thought of some world council is for power mongers. It's hard to hold on to that because we don't trust anyone. But just stop for a moment and consider a world where we have real people who have built a life of service not searching for power, not searching for financial gain, who have proven themselves time in, time out. And this little book has more, there's the want-ads of what these people would be in the process of finding them. As I've said before, if the person wants to be on this council, they're probably not the right person for the council. But just take some moment in your meditation, or if you're not a meditator, take some time in your drive and just imagine a world where these people are the wise elders that we've all chosen, that when these tough questions come up, they're presented before them and we move forward, and the underlying principle is always peace and no violence. Moving on. The diligence verdict, going back to the question, like, is this a skimpy little plan or is it as detailed as the original 1960s plans? It is inclusive and rich, but it is a living document rather than a set in stone treaty. Guterres' plan is designed to be a manual of action for a world that is moving too fast for traditional 500-page legal tomes. He didn't leave the important things out to get agreement. He reframed them so they wouldn't be immediately rejected by modern powers who are suspicious of world government. Would you like me to show you how he links his action points to specific sustainable development goals? It's the clearest way to see how he revived the plan for the 21st century. So AI always gives us something, a suggestion for something next. This is what I asked next. If the primary goal is not full disarmament, I'm not in agreement that the only light part of his plan is the verification. Ooh, I was getting a little, I don't mind getting feisty with AI. It's good not to agree with AI. That is a sharp and necessary correction. Gemini is not as much of a ASS kisser as Chat GPT. But it's telling me that I had a good question. If the primary goal shifts from general and complete disarmament to sustainable peace and security, it isn't just a change in wording, it is a fundamental lowering of the bar. You are right, by moving the goalpost, the plan becomes light at its very core. While the 1960s architects were trying to dismantle the machine, modern agendas often settle for trying to make the machine run more safely. Here's the breakdown of why Guterres' plan, despite its 111 actions, is structurally lighter than the historical blueprints you are researching. With great respect and gratitude, I am discussing this plan by Antonio Guterres, and I'm just really interested in the answers to these questions. And so we're going to go into how it's different and how he didn't propose complete disarmament. So it sounds a little critical, but you know what? We're in war right now, so maybe some things aren't working out. Moving on. Number one, the goal, elimination versus management. The 1962 blueprints. These were total plans. The goal was a literal zeroing out of national militaries. There was no acceptable level of standing armies. I try to change the book behind me each time I do a video, and I put Immanuel Kant's Perpetual Peace behind me there in the video. Scoot over so we can see it. The Guterres 2018 agenda, he uses the word disarmament, but much of the text focuses on arms control and risk reduction. This is a massive compromise. It implies that the war machine can stay in the garage as long as we promise not to drive it too fast. To a scholar of GCD, this is a retreat. Number two, the power structure, authority versus influence. The Sohn plan, they demanded a transfer of power. They wanted a world where the law was higher than the nation. If a nation didn't disarm, there was a legal mechanism to compel them. The Guterres agenda, it relies almost entirely on norms and dialogue. It asks nations to voluntarily behave better. In the world of smarty pants political science, this is often criticized as soft law. It has no teeth. It replaces a legal mandate with a polite request. Well, we sure know how that's worked out. We actually have laws in place that say we cannot attack another country. Those world laws are in place. And look where we are. We have a rogue president. I wore my New Kings garb because New Kings event is March 28th. Just go to nokings.org and find the event near you. We have a rogue president who started a war. And so without a way to enforce peace, moving on. 3, the war machine conflict. The 1960s authors, they were writing at a time when the Great Disarmament was viewed as a survival necessity. They were willing to challenge the existence of the military-industrial complex directly. The 2018 agenda. Guterres has to navigate a world where the 5 permanent members of the Security Council are the world's largest arms exporters. Give it to us straight, G. By making the plan inclusive and partnership-based, he avoids directly confronting the profit motives of the global arms trade. He seeks to regulate the trade rather than abolish the need for it. The verdict on richness, so going back to my question, is the plan as rich as the 1960s plan? While Guterres' plan is richer in scope, adding AI, gender, and climate, it is thinner in authority. The 1960s plans were narrow but deep, focused only on guns, nukes, but demanded their total removal. Guterres' plan is wide but shallow, focused on everything, but lacks the mechanism to force the removal of anything. Why this matters for your revived plan. If you were to use AI to revive a plan today, you would likely find that the 1962 blueprint for the peace race provides a much more honest and rigorous technical foundation for actual disarmament than modern diplomatic agendas. The modern versions are inclusive because they don't ask the powerful to give up their power. The historical versions were exclusive because they demanded exactly that. Would you like me to go back to those 1962 draft treaties and pull the specific Stage 3 language that describes what the world was supposed to look like after the final weapon was gone? Okay, where are we? Oh, we're at 17 minutes. So I am enjoying reading through some of these details of the documents to remind me. But right now we are going to open up the book, and I will say that I will do a part 4. And the next question that I asked G was, this was my prompt, let's stay in riffing mode for a bit. At the time these older documents were written, how much could the public know about them? Why wouldn't there have been a public document explaining all of the aspects so that there would have been more pressure to move it to success? So they spent all this time writing these things. Everyone's worried about the nuclear bomb. That's why these people, Clark and Sohn, came forward to write it. They're in the war machine, and everyone's worried that we're going to survive. And so they were brave and they came forward. Well, if I was in a little house in 19, so I was born in 62. If my mom was in a house and found out, here's this plan for disarmament, that sounds great. Wouldn't it have achieved public support? So I'm curious about that, and we'll see what it answers next time in part 4. I want to do 2 things to finish up. Well, actually 3. I want to remind you to look up your No Kings event, nokings.org. I'm wearing my Interrupter shirt. It says, love is an action. Start with yourself. And let's open up this book. So I did unseal it. This is so social media, right? We're going to do the unveiling, but it is very nice when you, this book is it's free on my website. Well, let's look at the book and then I'll give the plug. Let's open it up. Okay. Here it is. It's from the Peace Stuff Library. It's called Zero. And on the back, I'm going to read the back cover. It's let's see how many pages it has. It has about, I think it was about 80 pages, but I'll go over the book at another point, and I'll actually put the audio book of this of zero on my podcast as well for free. But it's on the website, aviskalfsbeek.com/0 for free. It's on all the places you can buy online books for 99 cents. Zero, every person's field guide to a world without weapons. I think I've been saying the subtitle wrong. The guardrails are gone. On February 5th, 2026, the New START Treaty expired. For the first time in 80 years, the world stands in a vacuum of nuclear accountability. No inspections, no limits. The clock has run out of time. But a blueprint exists. In the mid-20th century, Grenville Clark and Louis B. Sohn engineered a 12-step structural escape route from terminal entropy. They did not just hope for peace, they wrote the inventory list for it. Zero is the 2026 implementation manual for that plan. This is a field guide to the Great Disarmament, providing the modern coordinates for 10% staircase, a mathematical synchronized reduction of the war machine, the machine librarian using modern transparency to verify global peace, and the vitality pivot redirecting $2.4 trillion into the things that really sustain us. That's the Guterres part of the plan, right? The treaties have died, but the peace plan is still here. Zero is the only number that does not negotiate. We choose today which zero we will inhabit, the quiet of a world without weapons, or the silence of a world without us. That's from Team Zero. And who is Team Zero? Team Zero is you. Team Zero are all the people that believe in a world without weapons. And so how I want to end is just, I opened up the PDF for the Guterres plan, and that plan that we've been talking about is, I think it's 87 pages. And so I read the beginning of this, I read the first page, and we're just going to read some of the end. Disarmament must be brought back to the center of our common efforts for peace and security. We must understand the role of disarmament measures in preventing major war and armed conflict and violence, contributing to sustainable development, upholding humanitarian principles, and protecting civilians. Reinvigorating disarmament processes will contribute to these objectives. The Secretary General hopes that his agenda for disarmament will serve as a catalyst for new ideas and new ways of working together. It has a paragraph in between, and then it ends with Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld viewed disarmament as a dynamic process that was continually evolving in response to events and the interaction among states. I live next to the post office, and she's rolling the cart around. He once said, in this field, as we well know, a standstill does not exist. If you do not go forward, you do go backward. In this spirit, we appeal to all who use every opportunity to carry forward momentum for disarmament where it exists and to generate new impetus where it is needed in order to achieve a safer and more secure world for all. So you may be watching this video after March 28th, 2026. And anyone who's watching it before, I hope you'll show up to a No Kings event. And one idea I had that I'll mention in closing is community peace councils that are set up with no one running the show. And it's a place where everyone shares any conflict that arises in the community is brought forward with no plan of anyone to say this is what's going to happen, but just the hearing of it and a commitment among all who participate of a goal of zero weapons. And that would be, I'll just say I'm in recovery, and the only requirement for being in the meeting is a desire to stop drinking. I'm 4 years sober. So it could be similar that you step in, the only requirement is a desire for a world of peace. And in each community, I just listened to the Tetragrammaton. Oh my gosh, I'm going so long. Rick Rubin's Tetragrammaton podcast, and he had Adam Newman on, and Adam's developing these living communities. And I thought that, these peace councils could be in a town, different parts of a city and neighborhoods. He's building these buildings that are a community in and of itself, so they would have a peace council, and everyone would just have this opportunity to be grounded in peace as we move forward to this world in the great disarmament that we're in right now. So peace and love.